Hello, everyone, and welcome to the What the Heal podcast. I am your host, Maria Sellars, and I'm so excited to be here today. Even more excited to be joined by the wonderful Doctor Stephanie Burgos. So thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Dr. Stephanie is an incredible wealth of knowledge. She is a multi-passionate healer and guide. She's an emergency medicine physician specializing in integrative and holistic health, medicine woman, plant medicine guide and integrator, breathwork facilitator, embodiment guide, energy healer, wellness coach, author, and speaker. She is so passionate about helping others come home to their body, move past their inner roadblocks, and embody self-love and their sovereignty. As a burnt-out professional who sacrificed herself for the sake of achievement and external validation, Dr. Stephanie had a wake-up moment that changed the trajectory of her life. She switched her goals and decided to choose self-love as her new career. I want to snap my fingers to that one. She has over 9 years of experience helping others to build their self-confidence and dive deeper into self-love. If you are looking to free yourself and up-level your life, then it's time to move, breathe, feel, and embody your radiant soul. And Dr. Stephanie is an incredible guide to have you do that. So thank you so much again for being here, and just tell us what the heal is going on in your world.
Oh my goodness. First of all, thank you. Every single time I hear the bio, I'm like, wow, there's a lot there.
Yes, you are a force, sister.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited. You know, when you invited me to come on, I was just so excited and so honored. So again, thank you. Thank you for bringing me on. I love sharing my story and my journey. I think with my background as a professional woman, with my background in specifically medicine and just the journey I've taken, I feel like there's lots of people who can really relate.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'd like to do is just kind of go back a little bit and kind of really go back to kind of what was the driving force that kind of really brought me to my own personal healing journey. You know, I'm 38 years old. I'm from New York City, and I was someone who I always struggled with confidence. I always struggled with my body, my self-image. I always was an overweight child. And I always had this goal of becoming a doctor. So since I was a little girl, I wanted to become a doctor. It was like I was 6 years old, playing with my dolls, like literally imitating a physician. Yeah. And so I always had this like single-minded focus of this was where I was going. And so I spent, you know, my childhood, my teenage years, my early young adult years kind of geared and just really targeting this goal. And in that process, I tell people in that process, I kind of lost myself. You know, I became really burnt out. I was overweight. Even though I had accomplished a lot of different things in my life, you know, I had become the doctor. I have an amazing relationship with my husband. You know, I bought a home on a lake, you know, all these things that, you know, society kind of told me were
the boxes.
Yes, I was checking them off. I was checking them off of like, if you pursue this, you will be happy, you will be fulfilled, you will literally hit the jackpot.
Yes.
And I remember achieving all of these things and, you know, really feeling burnt out and really feeling like there was something I missed. And, you know, like I said, I had gotten to a point where I was overweight. I had low self-confidence. Even though I had all these external things from the outside looking in, people would say, oh my goodness, you have everything. Yeah. Everything looks great.
But the biggest box, the self-love
box was not there. And so that kind of started my own personal journey when it comes to just taking care of my physical body, really, you know, tuning into daily exercise, really watching what I was eating. I started an online business at that time. I started my social media at that time, and just really, you know, built this business online around, you know, self-care, around how you can access self-love through self-care. And so I did that for about, I would say, a good like 5-6 years. And then I reached another point that I feel like was really the beginning of my healing journey, which was where I had accomplished this great business. I had accomplished my dreams of becoming a doctor, and yet I was still feeling unfulfilled, still feeling how I missed the mark. And I remember in that moment, I had an anxiety attack in my home. I was crying hysterically to my husband. And I said, something is not right. The way that I am looking at life, the way that my intentions are in this life are not correct. And I really need to stop looking outside of myself. And I really need to start looking inward.
That's huge.
Huge kind of turning point. You know, at that time I was 30, about turning almost 35. It was the year that I was 35 years old.
I got chills for you, girl.
Yeah, 35 years old. And I was just like, man, something is just not right. And in that moment, I decided to really start focusing on meditation, really start focusing on yoga, really start focusing on just really prioritizing me even more.
Yes.
And that then led me down this kind of like wayward path of that we can, you know, go in any way about, but this wayward path of taking me to the jungle in the Amazon, you know, taking me into plant medicine, taking me into, you know, just a very deep spiritual kind of journey and awakening. And through that process, you know, really getting, you know, I became really obsessed about learning about Eastern philosophies, learning about the chakra system, learning about the energy centers, learning about how that ties into true healing. And, you know, so yeah.
Yeah. And as a doctor, to have that background, that's huge, because how does that show up in the medical world?
Absolutely,
like
yeah.
they don't talk about the different chakras.
They don't. And what I've realized is that all disease, or not all, but I would say about a good 90 to 95% of disease is rooted in emotions. It's rooted in trauma. It's rooted in our, you know, the things that are stored in our emotional body.
Exactly.
And that I was not taught in medical school.
No.
At all.
And when you see these people, I'm sure, showing up chronically,
yes,
with these same symptoms or symptom patterns.
Absolutely.
And it's like, there's not, you know, you feel like you can't help them. They didn't give you the tools within that.
And that's actually what happened when I started on my kind of that second awakening, as I call it, my awakening journey. I became really just misaligned in my ER work, because I was just like, okay, I know I'm helping people here, but this is not really going to help them.
Yeah, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a gushing wound.
Absolutely. It's putting a Band-Aid on a wound. And I started, you know, I came into medicine to help people heal. Mm-hmm. And I realized that I first, you know, the reason, you know, I needed to heal myself first. And through that journey, I'm now realizing what it really takes to heal.
Yes.
You know, healing is multi-layered.
So many layers.
So many layers.
And that's, you know, with this podcast, that's what I really hope people realize, is that there are many layers, and it's not a one size fits all, end all, be all. And sometimes you're going to need to work more on, you know, different pieces, have a very heavy meditation practice, and then you kind of break through and get to more maintenance, and then you have a whole new level to unlock within that.
Right. Well, you know, and I think of it, it's like we have the different layers. You have the physical body, you have the mental body, you have the emotional / kind of heart body is what I call it, and then we have the spirit soul. And I think a lot of people, they, you know, especially there's a great need for that kind of divine connection, spiritual connection. But we need those first three layers to kind of come into more harmony in order to really kind of have access to that kind of divine, that inner purpose, that, you know, aligning ourselves with our divine purpose and why we're here, that deep fulfillment, that true security.
Yeah.
And all of that comes as we're healing all these other layers, which is why, like, when I see patients now, it's challenging for me in the ER because I just have 15 minutes with them, you know, 15, 20 minutes, and they're coming in with their symptoms and their pain. And I can see, you know, especially now with all the work I've done on myself, as my intuition has opened up more, as that continues to open up more, and I hear them, I can kind of see in a way where some of this is being rooted in. And the challenge is that I don't have the time in that space to really go into that, and it also just takes time.
Yeah, right. It's like healing is not an overnight process.
Absolutely not.
Here, you do this meditation and your life is going to change.
Absolutely. Yeah.
No, there's so much that goes with it. You know, it definitely is a journey that's constantly evolving and unlayering and getting deeper. But yeah, you don't have 15 minutes with somebody in an ER room to get into even